Get £20 in risk-free bets for the new season when you join SPK. That's money back in cash on your first £20 of losses. Well worth a go. Less than 2 weeks now of the transfer window left, Dean. The Premier League has started with a few shock results as well. But the big story still surrounds the future of Harry Kane. Will he move to Manchester City or not? What's your latest take on the Harry Kane situation? Do you expect him to move before the transfer window closes?
I'm so torn here. Well, I speak to someone that's really good at Man City, like usually is bang on with what he tells me at Man City. He's like super confident that Harry Kane is joining Man City. Speak to a few people I know at Tottenham, and they're like, no, Daniel Levy absolutely won't sell him at this stage. It's like, hang on, one of you guys is wrong. So like, why have I got to make a guess here and get it right? But I'm going to make a guess. I still think that Harry Kane does leave Tottenham. I've just got a hunch. We'll see what this offer is coming. I think once it lands, it just changes the storyline again, and it almost forces Tottenham to sell. Personally, that's what I think. You got a hunch?
My hunch is probably the opposite, Dean. I think he's going to stay. But such a big transfer, such big money we're being talked about. It seems Daniel Levy is very determined not to let this move happen, despite what Man City might offer. As you said, City are expected to come back with one final offer to try and tempt Spurs into business. But if you think if City don't get Kane, can they go on and win the title? Obviously, they lost their opening game to to Tottenham at the weekend. We've now got City 25-19 to win the league with SPK. Do you think they can afford to go into this season without a number 9 after the departure of Sergio Aguero?
Yeah, I think they can still get around it. I don't think it's ideal, though. And I do actually think they've got to a point where they need a proper number 9. I know they didn't use one last season and got away with it. And Pep was smart enough to do that. Look, the way they started the season, it's hard to judge because they don't look prepared for the season. They don't look ready. Their players, a lot of them, the key ones, have come back late into pre-season and they're just not ready to start the season. So I can't really make a judgment on their form as such. But if they have Harry Kane, I think they win the league. Like, I'm pretty sure they win the league. If they don't have Harry Kane, they're just one of the runners. They really are. I think, Kane just gives you that extra factor that proves that you're better than all the other teams and gives you that decisiveness in attack, which I think they're lacking without him.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that. And I think if Harry Kane does join Man City before the window closes, that 25-19 price with the SPK will definitely contract. So if you want to have a bet on City, I'll be getting on it now before Harry Kane does join or doesn't join. So it's going to be an interesting last 13 days or so in this transfer window, and I'm sure there'll be more twists and turns in this chase for Harry Kane possibly going to Manchester City. But Spurs, they'll do their best to try and keep hold of him. And you've also got Spurs at 18-5 to finish in the top 4 with SPK. And I think that's a good price if Harry Kane does remain, because he's such a good professional and he will give his all to Spurs if he doesn't get his dream move to City.
He will, yeah. I mean, look, Harry Kane is in a really tough situation here and he's quite stressed about the whole thing from what I gather, because if this doesn't happen now, it's never happening. He's not joining Man City in a year. They're going to move on from this. So that's why I just have this hunch that this will happen, because it's like Kane wants it to happen, City want it to happen, whereas over here there's just Tottenham that don't want it to happen. It's 2v1. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But you are right, like you're 100% right that Daniel Levy holds the cards. He can block the deal. He's, from what I understand, he's not taking phone calls. I read Jason Burt in the Telegraph saying he's not taking phone calls. Like, Jason's very well connected. Like, I trust that.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard says similar to that. Tottenham don't want to sell unless something close to like 200 million comes in, which I'm sure it won't be quite that high. Yeah, I mean, I think it gives us a much better title race if Kane doesn't go there.
Yeah.
Which is exciting as a neutral. So yeah, whichever way it pans out, it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting final few days of the window when we're debating the future of Harry Kane. As you said, it might be 2v1, but that one is Daniel Levy. So that's the worry for any Manchester City fans hoping to see Harry Kane in the blue shirt this season. Moving across North London now, Dean. What of Arsenal? We're expecting them to be busy probably in the final days of the transfer window as Mikel Arteta looks to strengthen his squad. And boy, do they need it after Friday's dismal defeat at Brentford. Lots of question marks being asked of Arteta right now after that performance, losing to the Premier League new boys. obviously, a creative midfielder has been one of their top targets throughout this summer. They're now pretty hopeful of finally landing Martin Ødegaard on a permanent deal from Real Madrid. What's your latest take on this one? Do you expect this to happen?
I do expect it to happen, yeah. And I think it's just one of the easiest signings they could make at this point. They've tried other creative midfielders, obviously James Maddison we've spoken about extensively and stuff. I'm not sure this is that exciting, and I'm not sure that this changes much, to be completely honest. Like, Martin Ødegaard played for Arsenal last season, 14 Premier League appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. Not seeing that this is the game changer that Arsenal need. Look, Ødegaard's a fine footballer. He's very, very talented. We've talked about him since he was a young teenager, and he's still, every year, just doesn't quite get to the level that everybody has been expecting him to. And it's hard to when you've had that kind of hype as a kid. Arteta obviously loves him and has driven this from last year. They've turned back to him now. I think they tried initially even to get him on loan with an obligation, and Madrid, it seems, would rather take the straight cash deal, so they're going to go down that route if they have to, and will do it. But I don't think that this changes that much. I think you're still looking at Arsenal not having much of a different season with Martin Ødegaard in there. I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, it's one. He had a decent spell on loan last year, but didn't rip up the Premier League like many people expected to. Just thinking of that, you've got Arsenal 9-5 for a top half finish with SPK after Friday's performance. I'm not too sure too many Arsenal fans are feeling too confident right now. It does seem also another position they're looking to fill before the transfer window closes is a goalkeeper. Seems talks have resumed with Sheffield United over a deal for Aaron Ramsdale. This deal's just dragged on way too long for everybody's liking, I think. Sheffield United have driven a hard bargain. They're not going to let him go for anywhere close. They want 30 million, probably in add-ons, to get this deal done. Aaron Ramsdale's desperate for it to happen. This is another deal that Arsenal should get over the line before the window shuts.
It just doesn't seem that important to me, though. Like, Bernd Leno is absolutely fine. He's a really good goalkeeper. When this story first broke, I was told, like, oh, well, Leno quite fancies a move, and like there are German clubs interested, and there was stories like that. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If Leno's leaving, then Ramsdale, yeah, that's a good signing. But I don't think Leno is leaving. So why are they worried about a backup goalkeeper or somebody to compete with Leno? There just seems such burning factors across the outfield that they need to be fixing, and this just doesn't seem that important. But yeah, look, last week I know people were reporting that the deal was off. I was told, like, take that with a pinch of salt. Like, this isn't dead. Arsenal are going back in for him. Ramsdale's desperate for this move to happen. He wants to join Arsenal. He thinks he will join Arsenal. So I do think that they'll find some middle ground on that fee.
Yeah, I think that was maybe a bit of scaremongering from people in this deal, maybe to force Sheffield United to agree this deal, saying that the deal was possibly off. But yeah, I would expect Ramsdale to happen, and we're expecting Ødegaard to happen. So it's 2 more new faces in for the Gunners, maybe 2 players on their way out of Arsenal, Alexander Lacazette and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, both this Friday's defeat at Brentford through illness. Aubameyang being linked with a surprise move to Barcelona, a possible swap deal with Philippe Coutinho. Do you think this would be a good deal for Arsenal to take?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Like, I just don't see it. I'd be very surprised anyway. Not because Arsenal are desperate to keep him, just because I think that this late in the window, that's really complicated. And, you know, Barcelona have their own issues right now that they've been dealing with. So I would be very surprised if that materialised in this window. But that's not to say that Arsenal wouldn't get rid of Aubameyang or Lacazette or both if they could right now. There's been friction, no doubt about that, between Lacazette and Arteta coming into this season. Lacazette, they've been looking for buyers for him, not been able to find one. They've been trying to find a new forward, haven't yet signed one. And this is the gaping hole in this team. Like, where are the goals coming from for Arsenal this season? Why haven't they found a striker that's going to come in and help fix that problem? Since the very first day of the window, we've been talking about the fact Arsenal don't know what level they can shop at right now, like which players are going to be interested in joining them. It's not that elite tier anymore, so they come down a tier. And you look at the players that they're signing, and I'm afraid that they're just not of the quality that's getting them back in that Champions League conversation. And that's where they have to be heading. And that's a huge problem for Mikel Arteta, because ultimately he's the one that will feel the wrath of this. Like, Aubameyang will remain an Arsenal player. Lacazette will remain an Arsenal player throughout this season if they can't find buyers. Arteta can lose his job. And I think for the first time, we can ask questions this season about whether he stays as manager. He was untouchable until now. That's no longer the case.
Yeah, pressure is starting to build on Arteta. Like you said top four was the aim for Arsenal to get back in among the Champions League clubs. 36-5 for a top four finish with SPK. That looks pretty unlikely right now. So that's a big price to be thinking that one. But just to get Lacazette and Aubameyang off the wage bill would do Arsenal well. I think that's probably the main issue here. But not many takers for them. And it seems both players are happy to sit there and stay at Arsenal. And when they do get their opportunity, play for them. But not a lot of goals coming from both these players as well. And when you look behind them, Dean, not a lot of strength behind either. Florian Balogun started against Brentford, as did Martinelli. So bringing in a striker long term surely has to be a key position for Arsenal to rectify.
Absolutely, and this is another of Arsenal's big problems. You know, Aubameyang on over 300 grand a week, wearing the captain's armband like when he plays. Like, is he really captain material right now? When he's not, like Granit Xhaka, he just signed a new contract. Granit Xhaka was leaving a few weeks ago. Now he's signing a new contract, and he'll probably be the next captain. Lacazette, like, I think he's content enough, I would say, at Arsenal and in London. I'd use that word rather than delighted to be representing them. And it all goes back to like Mesut Ozil. Like, it all began there, and they should have learned lessons from that. And we were told they did. But yet you look at them now, and it looks like they're just getting in the same situations again and again and again. And I just have, I feel sorry for Arsenal fans, because you'd have thought the way the transfer window started, they could have been optimistic, and it looked like they were going to sign 6 players, go into there, be bold. You've got Brentford on the opening day, make a statement there. You lose 2-0. You get Martin Ødegaard back as your statement signing of the summer. You've already seen him play 20 times last season. It was fine. It wasn't that exciting. It's not looking that great, is it?
No, not a lot of hope there for Arsenal fans right now, and they really need to cling on to anything they can right now to try and raise their spirits. Just Chelsea next for them in the league as well, so something to look forward to for Arsenal fans. But big few weeks ahead for Arsenal to see if they can try and rectify their problems in the transfer market before the window closes. One player who, again, has been linked with a possible move in this transfer window, his futures in the spotlight, is Cristiano Ronaldo at Juventus. Lots of rumours circulating around him, even being linked with a possible move to Manchester City, which seems unlikely. Dean, Real Madrid boss Carlo Ancelotti's ruled out a potential return for Ronaldo to the Bernabeu. He's obviously coming into the final year of his contract at Juventus. Do you expect him to move before the window closes, or do you think he'll stay at Juve?
It's too late now. Like, at the start of the window, I thought there was a possibility Ronaldo would move this summer. I've checked with a couple of people I know that cover Juve closely, and over the past couple of weeks, they've been like, no, that's not happening now. Like, Ronaldo's here for the season. You've got to really see it as his Serie A farewell season, if you like. It's quite an exciting project he's now part of as well, with Allegri coming back to Juve. Ronaldo will be up front, hoping to fire them back to that title. They've got an interesting dynamic there up front with Chiesa and Dybala as well, and Kulusevski and Morata will be part of that. I think that they're very hopeful that it can be a good season, and Ronaldo, I think, would like to end with a successful time rather than be remembered for what happened last season. So yeah, I'm going to say Ronaldo gets one more year in Italy, and then we see where the next stop of his world tour is, and whether he decides to go to America yet or have one more stop off.
Yeah, I think it'd be too expensive probably right now for most clubs for Cristiano Ronaldo to move on to. But yeah, you've got Juve. He was brought in to win the Champions League for them. There's 21-1 with the SPK to win the Champions League. Also 20-21 to win Serie A. You'd expect them to be big favourites now to win Serie A. Now, we all know about Inter Milan's financial problems with the loss of Lukaku and other players. Juve, that squad should probably be strong enough to win Serie A title back.
Yeah, I think they will. I think, Inter are obviously weaker than they were last year, and they're the champions. AC Milan had a very good season, punched above their weight really though, and came second. They'll do well to do that again. They'll compete, but they've got Champions League football for the first time in a long time to take their mind astray potentially. Atalanta, I think, could put up a challenge, but Juventus, you look at their squad, and now they've got Allegri back. I honestly think that they'll win the title quite convincingly, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that would be a good bet, Juve, to go on and win Serie A. Right, moving on to a transfer that's been spoken about since the back end of last season. Jesse Lingard to West Ham. Obviously, he had a very productive loan spell at the Hammers last year, scoring 9 goals and providing 5 assists. West Ham have spoken publicly that they would love Jesse Lingard back at the club on a permanent basis, but Manchester United, it seemed, wanted to keep hold of Lingard, and the player was happy to stay and fight for his place under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. Seems quite hard to see where he could break into that team, Dean, after United's 5-1 demolition of Leeds last weekend. West Ham haven't given up on this one. Would you expect them to make a final push before the window closes to try and get Lingard back to West Ham?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, West Ham have had a frustrating summer as well on the transfer front. They haven't really make any breakthrough signings. And Jesse Lingard, they've just had to wait and see. Like, Jesse was very keen to get back in at United and try and prove that he could be a part of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans. And the message that was given to West Ham really was like, let's wait and see how the season starts for him and see if he's in that team. I'm told that West Ham have had positive sounds from their point of view that he's going to become available for transfer at the end of the month. And in that case, I think that they do become the most likely landing spot for him. I think the fact that they've kept hold of Declan Rice is very important, and Jesse will be buoyed by that and seeing that, you know, that squad is still there from last season. Sure, a bit disappointed, as most West Ham fans are, that they haven't built on what they did last season, but the foundations are all still there. He loved being the star man in that team. He knows that West Ham built around him so that he would be the guy that thrives and shines. And yeah, I think that there is, let's say, renewed optimism at West Ham that this deal can be revived and that Jesse Lingard can end up playing for West Ham again this season.
Yeah, it'd be a massive boost if it could get Lingard back on a permanent basis. That's why West Ham 21-5 to finish in the top 6 with the SPK. I think that looks good value to me, that one, considering how well West Ham did last season, and they got off to a flying start with that big victory at Newcastle last weekend as well. One team who didn't get off to a good start in the opening weekend of the Premier League was Leeds United. They've been relatively quiet in the transfer market as well so far this summer. Keen to add to their squad before the window closes, and one name that is very much at the top of their list is Lewis O'Brien at Huddersfield. I understand there's been a few bids rejected from Huddersfield, who are keen to keep hold of O'Brien, but I think they're just trying to drive the price up, trying to get maybe close to £10 million for this player. Is he the type of player that Leeds need, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got that kind of mentality that you need to be successful at Leeds. And I think that, you know, one of the things I was told at the start of the summer was expect Leeds to just slowly now start to improve every position in the pitch. Like, they're going to try and continue the same philosophy, but they know that they need to upgrade in a lot of positions. I know that they looked at Brownhill at Burnley as well. That was one of the guys that they've inquired about. They do seem, from what I understand, pretty confident over O'Brien now. I know there's been a little bit of competition in the last few days for his signature, but yeah, it sounds like it probably will happen, and I think it'll be a good fit for Leeds.
Yeah, Crystal Palace have been mentioned as possible candidates for O'Brien's signature as well, but I think the fact that O'Brien has been playing under Carlos Corberán, who was Bielsa's former assistant at Leeds, will put them heavy favourites to get this deal done. My understanding is Bielsa wants it done pretty quickly. He wants him part of his squad to get used to how he plays, and the only stick point so far has been the asking price from Huddersfield, but a lot of confidence inside that Leeds camp to get that deal done before the window slams shut on August 31st. Right, that's us here for another week on Touchline Talk. We'll be back next week with all the latest news and gossip from the world of transfers.